Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at Dick of Devonshire, a play from 1626, 7-ish, somewhere around there. 1626, 27-ish. No, firm attribution at time of recording. These things do change and fashions shift, but various people have been suggested, but none of them, at time of recording, are particularly firm. We await developments, and in fact a new edition. At time of recording, not out yet, but by the time you see this video, there will be one. I think the Rebels are doing one, so you can have a look at that. We're going to read that, the first third of the play today, with this wonderful room of people. So reading Enrico, and soldier number 2 is
Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Manuel is
Connor in London.
Reading Eleonora, master and soldier number 5 is
Alois, also in London.
Reading John, captain and soldier number 4 is
Donald in Northamptonshire.
Fernando, merchant number 2 and soldier number 1 is
Sarah Blake in The Hague.
Reading Teniente and Dick is
Mark in the Midwest United States.
Reading Bustamante, soldier and musketeer number 2, musketman number 2. I can't remember what it is. That's a contraction. Never mind. Is
David in Bath.
Reading Gusman today is
Aliki in Athens.
Reading merchant number 1, Bassano, and soldier number 3, and musketman number 1, if we get that far, is
Rachel in Canada.
And at the point where Rachel isn't available to read any of those, reading Bassano, soldier number 3, and musketman number 1 is
it's Greg near Stratford-on-Avon.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions as we go. Because of the nature of the text, there is a lot of uncertainty about certain bits and bobs of it. So there may be a certain amount of dancing going on. But hopefully we're going to find it bounces along with a reasonable level of accuracy. But we'll only be able to assess that once we're done. Without further ado, I don't know how problematic this play is. I suspect there are some quite problematic elements to it. So do check the content warnings in the listings if something crops up. I don't know yet. But future Robert will put something down there. Anyway, Act 1, Scene 1, as we've got it labelled here. And yes, it seems to be authorial. Enter Don Pedro Guzman, Enrico and Manuel, his sons, Don Fernando and Eleonora, his daughter, and Teniente.
Gentlemen, ye have much honoured me to take such entertainment, but you are welcome all. 'Twas my desire to have your company. At parting, heaven knows when we shall meet again.
You are for France then too?
I wait on my father.
Enrico.
Eleonora!
But how chance, Manuel, your younger brother is at the goal before you? What, no lady to please your eye?
I am not yet weary of my freedom. May Herenko meet joy in his election, yet I know not one I would sooner choose to call a sister than Eleonora.
At my return from France, all things shall be consummate. In meantime, let your own hearts, knit with the strongest tie of love, be merry in mutual embraces, and let your prayers fill our departing sails. Our stay will not be long, and the necessity of my affairs unwillingly doth take me from you.
Though I could wish your stay, my duty bids me expect the enjoying of my happiness till your return from France, your blessing.
However heaven dispose of Eleonora, pray write me in your thoughts your humblest daughter, that shall make it a part of her devotions to pray for you.
Well, sir, since your design pulls you away, may your good angel guard you.
The like wish I, Don Pedro.
Manuel, I hope you will not long breathe out of Spanish air. Farewell.
My thanks to all. Stay.
For they hear pieces discharged.
The captain of the castle come to interpret that language to us? What news?
Enter Bustamante.
Such as will make all Spain dance in canary. The Brazil fleet
Arrived?
is putting into harbour, and aloud calls for a midwife. She is great with gold and longs to be delivered.
No, he Spaniard is not a true rejoicer at the news. Be it a good omen to our journey.
So wish we all.
May we at our return meet no worse news than now at parting. My noble Don Fernando and Teniente, once more farewell, my daughter, I hope.
Nay, your good news deserves a farewell.
Deserves a farewell.
A soldier's farewell, a fast hand and heart. Good fate to both.
Exeunt Gusman and Manuel.
Come, Eleanor, let them discourse their joys for the safe fleet. In thee all my delights embark themselves.
Let them come. Our ships have brought with them the news of war.
What is that, gentlemen?
I am speaking of a fleet of enemies.
From whence?
From England.
A castle in the air.
Do you not believe it?
I heard such a report, but had no faith in it. A mere pot gun.
Nay, sir, 'tis certain there hath been great preparation, if our intelligence be true to us, and a mighty navy threatens the sea.
What's that to us? How long hath it been a voice they were at sea? I have ventured to discharge the soldiers, which to keep here in pay upon the rumour of a great fleet coming, would both pester the town and be unnecessary charge to the king, our master.
But how if they intend us?
'Tis not probable. The time of year is past, sir. Now more than the middle of October. Had they meant us, we should have heard their message in loud cannon before this time.
I am of that opinion.
But Don Fernando and Bustamante, call to mind the time hath been when we supposed to the season past. They have saluted us with more than friendly bullets, tore the ribs of our town up, made every house too hot for the inhabitants, had a spoil of all, spite of our hearts.
One swallow makes not summer. Because once our city was their prize, is't of necessity it must be so again.
Or were the navy greater, as fame gives out it is the fairest that ever danced upon the seas, why yet should we suspect for this city?
Because we dream so.
You did dream it may be as near truth. I wish the contrary, but know them daring enemies.
The world we do acknowledge cannot boast more resolution than the English heart seasoned for action.
Francisco Bustamante, how is the castle? What strength?
A fort impregnable, wanting neither soldiers nor munition.
Well, look to it.
However that will be necessary, the fort lies in the mouth of danger, and it will become you to discharge that duty, Bustamante.
With my best care.
I wish all well, and that you had not yet discharged your companies, Don Fernando.
Come, put off your jealousy. Drink down the remembrance. We forget our fleet's arrival. Send your fears away. Nothing but wine and mirth should crown this day.
And they exit. So we're getting a sense of location. We're getting a sense of all those English they're the enemy, but we admire them. Obviously, they're obviously terribly admirable. They mustn't be underestimated by these people here. So yes, I've started. I don't know whether this might be a theme that may continue through the play. I suspect it might. That the English may turn out to be terribly, terribly noble and exciting. So that might be a thing there. So yeah. That might be some interesting stuff. Thoughts from the room about this sort of opening gambit? We didn't get a prologue. Let's not say there wasn't a prologue. Prologues are often detachable. So yeah.
I've got a sneaking suspicion that the author is on the side of the English.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. That seems wholly implausible. I think this is an entirely unpartisan text.
Yeah, completely objective, I think.
And it's, especially when, certain nationalities in the sort of the mid to late 1620s, let's just say England's really going hard on the anti-Spanish, certainly the anti-Spanish side of things. So I don't know whether that'll play into this text at all. I couldn't possibly conjecture. So yeah. Other thoughts. Sorry, did anyone wave there? No, everyone's very, very, very convinced. I can tell.
Yeah, I'm just trying to follow the plot so far and who all these people are.
Yeah, it's not so much the plot. It is just the relationships and who's on what side. What we've got is a situation rather than a plot at this point. So it is that sense of just going, what is the world? What's going on? What are the martial qualities going on here? So I'm just making some notes. People are making nice suggestions in the chat, which I'm just trying to implement as we go. This is very untidy text, so the more the merrier. Okay, well let's gather some more data, because we have an exciting scene of two merchants. That's what we're always looking forward to in a play. Nobody cares about this martial action. What we want to do is find out about proto-capitalism. Act 1, Scene 2. Enter two Devonshire merchants as being in sherries.
Hear you the news?
Yes, that an English fleet is making up to Cales.
Our sherries merchants, though few of us be here, shall soundly pay to the furnishing of this navy.
Nay, I assure you our ships will be fast bound by Spanish charms, not to get hence in haste.
The devil already is furling up the sails. Would all the sacks which we have brought for England were in Devonshire, turned to small beer. Though we were not but in Tavistock to see it drawn out. Were it ne'er so thin, I'll drink the health to all the dons and sherries, and cry a pox upon 'em.
That word heard by any lousy Spanish picardo were worth our two necks. I'll not curse my Diegos, but wish with all my heart that a fair wind may with great bellies bless our English sails both out and in, and that the whole fleet may be at home delivered of no worse a conquest than the last noble voyage made to this city, though all the wines and merchandise I have here were at the sea's bottom.
Troth, so would I mind.
I ne'er could tell yet from what root this huge, large, spreading tree of hate from Spain to us, from us again to Spain, took the first growth.
No, then I'll tell thee. Let us season our sorrow with this discourse.
With all my heart, I long for it.
You shall not lose your longing. Then, sir, know, the hate a Spaniard bears an Englishman, nor natural is, nor ancient. But as sparks flying from flint by beating beget flames, matter being near to feed and nurse the fire, so from a tinder at the first kindled grew this heart-burning twixt these two great nations.
As how, pray?
Hear me. Any Englishman that can but read our chronicles can tell that many of our kings and noblest princes have fetched their best and royalest wives from Spain, the very last of all binding both kingdoms with one golden ring of love and peace, by the marriage of Queen Mary with that little man, but mighty monarch, Philip, son and heir to Charles the Emperor.
You say right.
Religion having but one face then, both here and there, both nations seemed as one. Concord, commerce, and sweet community were chains of pearl about the necks of either. But when England threw off the yoke of Rome, Spain flew from her. Spain was no more a sister nor a neighbor, but a sworn enemy. All this did but bring dry sticks to kindle fire. Now see it burn.
And warm my knowledge and experience by it.
Spain's anger never blew hot coals indeed, till in Elizabeth's reign, when, may I call him so, That glory of his country and Spain's terror, the wonder of the land and the sea's minion, Drake, of eternal memory, harrowed the Indies.
The King of Spain's West Indies?
Yes, when his Nombre de Dios, Cartagena Hispaniola, with Cuba and the rest of those fair sisters, the mermaids of the seas, whose golden strings gave him his sweetest music, when they, by Drake, gave his brave Ginges were ravished. When these red apples were gathered and brought hither to be pared, then the Castilian lion began to roar.
Had he not cause, being vexed so?
When our ships carrying such fire drakes in them that the huge Spanish galleons, hulks, and carracks, being great with gold, in labour with some fright, were all delivered of fine red-cheeked children at Plymouth, Portsmouth, and other English havens, and only by men midwives, had not Spain reason to cry out, O diablos ingleses?
It had not spoke such Spanish else.
When we did set our feet even on their mines, and brought their golden faggots thence, their ingots and silver wedges, when each ship of ours was able to spread sails of silk, the tacklings of twisted gold, when every mariner, as his arrival here, had his deep pockets crammed full of pistolets, when the poorest shipboy might on the Thames make ducks and drakes with pieces of 8 fetched out of Spain. These were the bedfellows which blew the Spanish bonfires of revenge. These were the times in which they called our nation Baracos, Lutherans, and Furious del Inferno.
Would we might now give them the self-same cause to call us so?
The very name of Drake was bugbear to fright children. Nurses stilled their Spanish ninnies when they cried, "Shh, Drake comes."
All this must needs beget their mortal hate to us.
It did. Yet then we loved them beyond measure.
Why?
Why did not Spain fetch gold from the West Indies for us to spend here merrily? She planted vines, we ate the grapes. She played the Spanish pavine under our windows, we in our beds lay laughing to hear such minstrelsy.
How then turn the winds? Why did this beauteous face of love in us put on so black a visor of hate to them?
Oh, sir, do but look back to '88, that Spanish glass shall tell you. Show each wrinkle. England that year was but a pricked out to be laid on their king's trencher. Who were their cooks? Marry, sir, his grandees and great dons of Spain. A navy was provided, a royal fleet, infinite for the bravery of admirals, vice-admirals, generals, colonels, and commanders, soldiers, and all the warlike furniture. Cost or experience or man's wit could muster for such a main design.
Stay, 88? 38 years ago. Much about then came I into the world. Well, sir, this fleet?
Which made the sea fish wonder what new kingdom was building over theirs, beat down the billows before them to get hit thither. 'Twas such a monster in body, such a wonder in the eyes, and such a thunder in the ears of Christendom that the Pope's holiness would needs be godfather to the most mighty, big-limbed child, and call it the Invincible Armado.
That's to say, a fleet of ships not to be overcome by any power of man.
These were the whales, these were the huge leviathans of the sea, which roaring came with wide and dreadful jaws to swallow up our kingdom, ships, and nation. The fame of this armada grew, with terror riding on envy's wing. The preparation was waited on with wonder, and the approach showed the grim face of horror. Yet, against all these, our country and our courages were armed.
St. George for England!
And St. George we cried, albeit we heard the Spanish Inquisition was aboard every ship with torture torments, whips strung with wire, and knives to cut our throats. But from the armed winds a host break forth, which tear the ships and savoured ours. Thus I have read 2 stories to you. One, why Spain hates us. T'other, why we love not them.
Oh, sir, I thank you.
Excellent. That was a party political broadcast on behalf of the anti-Spanish party. Can anyone hear the sound of the Spanish ambassador writing a letter? There's no point in doing that because Charles doesn't care. Okay, it does feel like we've just been plonked into a dialogue that's been, I mean, in a sense, for us, it's actually quite useful. To be honest, there is an element of actually, you might not be fully up on the gen of the precise back and forth between Spain and England, and you know, the outline isn't wholly wrong. It's just, shall we say, spun somewhat. You know, there was a Spanish Armada. There was a. Sorry, that little man but mighty monarch Philip. We've had that before. I remember him being called a little man. I'm sure that's a commonplace or something. It's like Napoleon. You know, his height is or lack of is exaggerated. Thoughts on this innovating historical dialogue? Lois.
I think it's terribly unlikely that Richard Brinsley Sheridan could have read this play, but in The Critic, there is a terrible play. I mean, it's a spoof play called The Spanish Armada, which begins with Sir Christopher Hatton and Sir Walter Raleigh having more or less this conversation. I mean, one of them says, "Philip, you know, is proud Iberia's king," to which the answer is, "He is." And then his subjects in base thraldom and Catholic superstition held, while we, you know, the Protestant persuasion hold. We do. And it goes on like that. I mean, it's exactly like this.
Yeah, and it's like you just expect merchant number two going, "Thank you. I'm glad I asked that question. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. For that little history lesson." I mean, I'm sure they use the name of Francis Drake as a name to scare children. I'm sure that's absolutely literally true. I'm sure that happened once somewhere. So, I mean, for those who've been with us earlier in the year, you know, where we were doing Game at Chess, Game at Chess a couple of years before this, and the political situation has gone considerably more anti-Spanish than even then. So you know, this is where we're at. That's what they're doing here. And it's actually, I wish I'd used this now. This would have been an excellent primer for the first, before we did Game at Chess, to just set the tone. I wish I'd known. Oh well, never mind. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that strikes me is just that how casual they are about the fact that most of their love for Spain comes from having looted it. I mean, it's all about all the profit they made and how they came home with all this plunder.
Yes, and in the sense that Spain goes away and commits a terrible genocide, and then we raid their ships to bringing the stuff back, and that's sort of the rise of the navy at the time is very much about just commissioning people to go out and raid shipping. You know, British Navy starts off basically as a bunch of pirates.
A little bit unlikely that people would have forgotten the Spanish Armada by this time. I would have thought.
Yeah. No, I mean it's still a cultural touchstone, and just the name 88 is still something that lands, obviously, because it does turn up in quite a few plays at this point. Okay. Well, I think we're all grounded now historically. We know what's true. It's not true. Act 1, Scene 3. Enter Teniente, Don John, and Enrico.
I ever feared some ill fate pointed at this city.
Makes the fleet this way.
Pisano!
I did dream every night of it, and the ravens with their unlucky throats never leave croaking some danger to us all.
Where's Pisano? Villain!
Be not discomforted.
Don Fernando, too, hath cut our strength off, taken away our swords, should save our throats. I did prejudicate too rashly of the English. Now we may yield up the town. Sirrah, get you up to the highest.
Enter Bazzano.
Turret that looks 3 leagues into the sea, and tell us what you can discover there.
Why, I can tell you ere I go.
What?
Why, there are fishes and ships too in the sea. They were made for that purpose.
The fellow dotes. Climb quickly, Sirrah, and tell us whither they bend to this place. There's a fleet abroad. Scud, rascal.
Villain, away! Cast your eyes into the sea.
I'll be hanged first. Some wiser than some. Mine eyes into the sea. I see no reason for it.
Why stayest thou? This slave is without sense. Get up and see and report the truth.
Ah, that's another matter. I will overlook you all presently.
Exit Bassano.
Oh, what were I best to do? I do not like these navies.
'Tis past question. They were kenned this way, that they intend to make another meal of this city.
The first was but a breakfast. They have shrewd stomachs. Oh, for a lusty storm to bury all their hopes in the waves now. One good swelling gust would break their ribs in pieces.
No witches abroad.
Enter Bassano above.
I see.
What?
Nay, I cannot tell what yet. Something it is. I think it be a town.
Some island in the sea?
It swims on the water.
'Tis the fleet. Come they this way.
Yes, they're ships. I know 'em by their foul linen. Now I see them plainly. They come.
How far off?
Speak, Sirrah!
If you would peace, I would hear what they say. The wind serves to bring every word they speak. They make towards this city. A great fleet. Stay, look to yourselves.
They spit fire already and have hung up 1,000 ships of defiance. They're at the fort, at the castle. Oh, would I were pelted to death with oranges and lemons.
Here comes Don Fernando. What news?
Enter Fernando and Eleonora.
Assured danger, gentlemen, for all our men already are in a palsy and do fly, they know not whither. They are English. The city's almost desperate.
Don John, come with me and help to encourage the remaining soldiers.
New supplies shall quickly cheer your hearts. Enrico?
Sir?
In this confusion, when 1,000 fears present themselves and danger with full face looks on the general town, let me lock up this treasure in your arms. And, for you have at least an equal interest with me in Eleonora, in your father's house she may hope more security, being of strength. For this storm cannot last, but in your love she hath a stronger guard.
This act of confidence binds me forever to Fernando. Come, half of my soul, for we two must not be in life divided. Though the city lie at mercy of the enemy, yet from Don Pedro Guzman's house not all mankind shall take thee from me.
Enter Bassano and Spaniards flying.
They come.
Committing this, my jewel, to your trust, I must into my charge. My blessing.
Oh, do not leave me, sir. For without you, what safety can I have? You are my father. Pray stay you with me.
Oh, my girl, I cannot. Dare not be so unfaithful to the trust his majesty put me in, though I would stay.
I fear if you go hence, all will not long be well.
Distrust you me, Eleonora?
No, indeed. You ever had with me the opinion of a most noble gentleman.
What then?
I know not what, besides my fear, and that begs I may share your fortune, since you may not take up such safety here as I have.
Come, you are to blame. This heaven that now looks on us with rugged brow may quickly smile again, and then I shall revisit my Eleonora. So, farewell.
Exit Fernando.
Till then, with greater care than were the dragons supposed to watch the golden apples growing in the Hesperides, shall Enrico wait on his best beloved. O may Eleonora, I would to heaven there were no war but here to shoot love's darts. Each smile from this fair eye may take an army prisoners. Let me give my life up here unto these lips, and yet I shall, by the sweetness of a kiss, take back the same again. O thou, in whom alone virtue hath a perfect figure, hide not day in such a cloud. What fear hath entered here? My life is twisted in a thread with thine. Were it not defenced, there could nothing come to make this cheek pale, which at your eye will not fall dead before you.
Enter Bassano.
Sirrah, let all your care and duty be employed to cheer this lady. Pray, be merry.
Oh, sir, yonder's such doings.
Hell on ya, bawling! Not a syllable to a frighter, or I shall tune your instrument there.
He'll break the head of my instrument. Why, sir, women are not afraid to hear of such doings.
Still jarring?
When the whole town is altogether by the ears, you might give me leave to jar a little myself. I have done, sir.
Put on thy merriest face, Bazzano.
I have but one face, but I can make a great many.
My best Eleonora, I shall soon return. In the meantime, be owner of this house, possessor. All danger, sweet, shall dwell far off. I'll but inquire the state of things in the city, and fly back to thee with love's wings.
And exit Enrico.
I prithee, call him back.
Signor Enrico, she has something more to say to you.
To me, sweetest.
Enter Enrico.
To me, sweetest.
Enrico, do you love me?
By this fair hand.
And will you leave me too?
Not for the wealth of Spain.
Since I must be your prisoner, let me have my keeper's company, for I am afraid some enemy in your absence, like a wolf, may seize on me. I know not whither now I e'er shall see my father. Do not you ravish yourself from me. For at the worst we may die here, Enrico, and I'd rather fall in your eye than in your absence be dishonored. If the destinies have not spun out a longer thread, let's die together.
Do not rack my soul with these sad accents. Am I Enrico? There is not any place can promise such security as this to Eleonora. Do not talk of dying. Our best days are to come. Put on thy quiet, and be above the reach of a misfortune. I'll presently wait on thee by this kiss.
Would I might keep your oath. So please you, lady, Bazzano will swear too.
What?
That you'll be there and here again presently.
Attend here, sirrah.
If you must needs go, pray, sir, keep yourself out of gunshot.
Mind you your charge.
You shall hear a good report of my peace, I warrant you. Take heed you not be sent to heaven with a powder. A company of hotshots are abroad, I can tell you.
If you will go, may your success be fair.
Farewell. Heaven cannot choose but hear your prayer.
Exit Enrico.
Now what please you, madam, that I shall amble, trot, or walk?
Any pace.
Yet if you would refer it to me, I'd use none of them.
What wouldst do?
Why, I would gallop or run, for I think long till I be at home in our castle of comfort. If it please you, I'll lead you a hand gallop in the plain ground, trot uphill with you and rack downwards.
Talk not of racks, prithee. The times present too many.
Ride me as you will, then. I am used both to curb and snaffle.
I prithee, tell me, Bazzano, so I hear thy master call thee.
He may call me at his pleasure, forsooth.
Dost thou know the nature of the English?
Both men and women. I travel thither with an ambassador. For the men, I'll not miss you a hair of their condition, and for the women, I know them as well as if I had been in their bellies.
Are they not cruel?
As tigers, when they set on it. No mercy unless we ask them forgiveness.
That's somewhat yet.
But not to you, that's only to men. For let the women fall down afore 'em, never so often they'll rather fall upon them. Nay, some of them are so spiteful they'll break their own backs before they let 'em rise again.
Fool, I mean not your way.
Keep your own way, madam. I mean the plain way.
Are they not unmerciful in their natures to such as are in their power? Their enemies, as we may be.
Their enemies as we may be in their power. I had rather be crammed into a cannon and shot against their ships than you should prove a witch and tell true now. The Tartar is not half so grim, nor a Turk would use us so like the Jews as they will. If it come to that, once they take the town, you'll see the Spanish dons' heads cried up and down, as they do our oranges and lemons, and the women's heads shall off too. Not a maiden head of gold shall scape them.
It is no valor to use tyranny upon the conquered. They have been reported a noble nation, and when lost the pride of this city adorned their victory, by command of their brave general, no outrage ever the soldiers durst commit upon our persons, though all our wealth lay in full streams upon them. Our honors were preserved, or fame belies them.
No matter what fame says, perhaps I know more than she does. And yet now you talk of valor. They are not comparable to us.
How?
Why, valor is but the courage of a man. Courage is, as they say, the spirit of a man. And the spirit of a man is the greatness, as we call it, of his stomach. Now 'tis well known to the whole world they feed better and eat more than we do. Ergo, they have better stomachs than they. We have better stomachs than they. But see, we have talked ourselves at home already, and the port is open. Will it please you enter, or shall I enter before you? I am your man, madam.
You know the way best. Whilst abroad they are at fight, twixt hope and fear at home I war.
And they exit. Okay. There are some interesting things going on here. I'm going to say I like a lot of Bassano's shtick. I think some of the lines there and some of the sort of stupidness of going up there and looking out and going, oh look, is actually quite nicely done. And then we have this sort of back and forth with Eleonora, which.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm really not sure what this play is doing yet. It's doing some things, and they're sort of moderately interesting things. But it's like, yeah. So the English are coming. The English are coming. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah. Hope it is. Frankly. Yeah, thoughts. I say thoughts specifically, actually, because we have rattled through almost half our material in about 30 minutes. So, please have something interesting to say. Greg, then Lois.
I'm not sure it's interesting, but I'm going, where's the plot after Act 1? Usually you get something, but there just seems to have been a series of very disjointed scenes. You feel like you're getting something and then you don't quite get it, if that makes sense to me, but maybe that's just my reading of it.
Well, I mean, in a sense, we've got two scenes of action. I mean, with which are the bread of a debate sandwich. So we feel disjointed because we've only had two scenes where something's happened, as opposed to one where two merchants come on and have a chat. There's an invading force. It looks like it's going well for the English, and not so well for those in the town. So in a sense, quite a lot's happening, but not a lot is happening. Because again, we don't quite know where a plot is going here in terms of characters doing something as opposed to events happening. This is all based on events that had happened a year or so previously, by the way. So, this is all true. It's all true. I'm sure it's all true. Lois, then Alan.
Well, what's interesting, I think, is that the author is trying to depict a fight against this, an invasion, really, of Spain from the Spanish point of view. I mean, obviously, they keep saying how wonderful the English are, but at least the Spaniards are depicted as human beings. There's a couple who are sort of engaged, and they've said farewell to the father of the family, things like that. They're people with real relationships. So there is some attempt, I suppose, at showing how this would look from the other side. Eleonora seems to me an absolute idiot, but never mind.
Yes, I mean, this is the thing: is yes, they are sort of people, but they are very comic buffoony people. I mean, everyone seems to be a buffoon on some level. Not just the clown, who is overtly a buffoon, and obviously that's his role. Quite like him. But I'm kind of getting everybody sort of just bouncing about, and it's like, these Spaniards over there, not very good, are they? Rah. Kind of feels like where it's coming from, but I could be wrong on that front. Alan,
got the feel to me of an action movie. You're not too worried about what's going on with the words, but given that we've seen that this has got a cast of thousands, I suspect there's an awful lot of alarms and excursions and running on and off and busyness.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can go with that. There is certain logic to that in the sense that the world events are more important than the individual characters so far. We haven't met Dick yet, so that may change. Aliki.
Well, given how very much we've had of Eleonora, who has now been carefully taken away from anybody who might possibly protect her, and that, as you say, there's a male English title character who we still haven't met, I have a feeling this is going to be the tumultuous events of the war as seen through the eyes of one romantic pairing. That's my guess.
That's your guess. Let's see whether that turns out to be true or not. I like a prediction this early on. Let's see where we go. Act 2, Scene 1. So, that was Act 1. Act 1 was that. Act 2, Scene 1. Alarum as the soft music begins. A peal of ordnance goes off. Then cornets sound a battle, which enter Captain, master of a ship, Dick Pike, with muskets.
For bravely, countrymen, honour all this while sat in a throne of smoke with sparkling eyes looking upon your courages and admiring your resolutions, and now rewards your sweat with victory. The castle groans at heart. Her strongest ribs are bruised with battering cannons, and she has taken into her bowels fire enough to melt her.
My lord came bravely up to her and showed a spirit that commands danger. His honourable example gave us new hearts.
Faith, give the Spaniards their due. They entertained us handsomely with hot meat. 'Twas no cold welcome.
But I would not willingly swallow their plums. They would rise shrewdly in a man's stomach.
At the first shot, when the convertine came in, 3 men were killed.
At the second, 4, was it not?
At the third, 2 more. One salutation came so close that with the very wind my hands have almost lost the sense of feeling. Jewel, thou mates, thy musket spit fire bravely.
And my Devonshire blade, honest Dick Pike, spared not his sugar pellets among my Spaniards.
He did like a soldier, as he that charged his musket told me. In this service he hath discharged 70 bullets.
I did my part, sir, and wish I had been able to have laid 'em on thicker, but I have lined somebody's guts. Much good do 'em with it. Some of them have wished well to me.
Art hurt?
Where?
Nowhere. One of my flanks itches a little. If a piece of lead have crept in to hide itself cowardly, I am not much in debt for it.
Let my surgeon search for it.
Search a pudding for plums. Let my flesh alone. Perhaps it wants soldering. Shall we to it again? I have half a score of pills for my Spaniards. Better than purging comfits.
Enter another soldier.
What news?
The fort is yielded.
They've been speechless a good while. I thought they'd yield up the ghost shortly.
But on condition to march away with flying colours, which was granted.
What's become of the captain of the fort?
Don Francisco Bustamante is carried aboard our general's ship, where he had a soldier-like welcome. But he and all his company are put over into Port Real on the mainland, because they should not succour the city.
Unless he will swim to the island. And how fares the convertine?
Her shrouds are torn to pieces and her tacklings to rags.
No matter. She carries the more honour.
500 bullets stuck in her sides.
'Tis well they escaped her heart, lying all the fight little more than pistol shot from him. Her starboard still to the fort, and at least 200 muskets playing upon her. I wished heartily some of our London roaring boys had been in the heat of it.
Wouldst have 'em twice burnt.
They should have found a difference betwixt the smoke of tobacco and of a musket. Another manner of noise that damn me and refuse me, which they vomit daily. It might have done some of them good, for by that means they might have prayed heartily once in their lives.
The Whitehall men did good service.
Who? The colliers?
4,000 bullets, their ordnance, and the Hollanders discharged upon the castle.
Was well done of all sides, bullies. But since our forces are landed, let it be your care to look well to the ships, and, honest Dick of Devonshire, be not too careless of your hurts. He means to fight again that provides for his recovery soonest. Hold thee. Here is something to pay the surgeon and to wash your wound withal.
My noble captain, I'll have care of my own, and drink your health with it.
Thou deservest more than common encouragement. Prithee, remember me too.
Exeunt captain and master.
Why, I am sorry I have no more hurt, gentlemen, but I took it as earnest to receive more, if occasion be. I have but a barrel to bestow among my dons, while that lasts, let 'em come and welcome. The drink shall be spiced to their hands. Their complexions are black, they shall want no balls to wash their faces. If any do lighten their bodies, they may chance be scoured all over.
We may hap to be in the suds ourselves.
There will be charges saved then. For my part, I am but one. There are shots enough.
More by a score than I hope will be paid these 2 days.
Talk not of paying. Here's more than a month comes to. Well, if our service be done, and there be any other liquor to be got, we'll drink no salt water as long as this lasts.
Come, let's have a dish to our countrymen, and let's remember Tavistock.
God a mercy for that boy. A match! A match!
And they exit. Well, there's a stout-hearted English chap. Look. Again, there are some really nice elements to some of the wordplay going on here about the ordnance being fired, and it's just a flesh wound. It's fine. It's it's okay. Dick comes on with no limbs, and it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's again. It does feel like a war film designed for propaganda purposes, doesn't it? The daring do of our heroes as they take the beaches, kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting, and that scene was quite engaging, but again, we're still setting up characters here, aren't we? Vaguely. And it's like nothing, again, fundamentally, the situation hasn't changed that much, apart from sort of invasions happened and they seem to be doing all right. And it's what I'm sort of going here a lot of the time. Any thoughts in the room? No one's got any thoughts. It doesn't feel like it's a deep text, this, does it? It feels like it is. Yeah. Oh well, I feel this episode might be very short. Okay. Act 2, Scene 2. Enter Enrico Gussman, because there's lots of people called Gussman. And they're all a family. Enter Enrico, his sword drawn, and Eleonora.
Yet the city is safe enough. Fear not, Eleonora. The bullets make no noise here. The town should yield her strength up to the invader. Thou art locked up like a spirit in a crystal. Not an enchanted castle, held up by strong charm, is half so safe. This house, though now it carry not the figure and fair shape which the first workman gave it, eating time, having devoured the face of it, is within a sanctuary, and hath so much cunning couched in its body, not a labyrinth so full of meanders.
Sir, your presence confirms me an opinion of my safety, not of my life so much, for that's a thing I owe to nature, and should one day be aweary of it. Like to inns we take our houses up, having but here a place of lodging, not of dwelling. But of honour you give me my assurance, for in such a time of thick confusions I much fear that might be hazarded. And who knows what the soldier, that hath no law but that of cruelty and rapine, when like a bird of prey his talons are possessed of one, so weak as I am.
Any that durst offend thee with a syllable, or but fright that blood out of thy cheeks to seek another place, not daring to be seen there, where it now is of itself sufficient to ravish a mortal that with just eyes can look on it, had better be a devil. But a hair, the poorest part of thee, and in this excellent because 'tis thine, shouldst any dare to ravish from these his soft companions, which the wind would be forever proud to play withal, had better dig his mother's coffin up, and with his teeth eat what the worms had left.
I know you will defend me.
Will defend thee? Have I a life, a soul that in thy service I would not wish expired? I do but borrow myself from thee.
Rather, you put to interest, and for that principle you have credited to Eleonora, her heart is paid back as the just usury.
You undo me, sweet, with too much love. Ere I married thee, I fear thou'lt kill me.
How?
With tendering me too much, my Eleonora. For in my conscience thou'lt extremely love me, and extremes often kill.
There can be no extreme of love, sir.
Yes, but there may. And some say jealousy runs from the sea, a rivulet, but deducted from the main channel.
This is a new language.
You not heard men have been killed with joy? Our grief doth but contract the heart, and gladness dilate the same. And so too much of either is hot in the fourth degree.
Sir, your discourse is stuff of several pieces, and knits not with that you used but now. If we can practice a virtuous love, there's no hurt to exceedent. What do you, sir?
Look on thee.
Why do you eye me so? This is not usual. Are you well?
Well, ever better.
Pray heaven it bode me no unhappiness. How doth my father?
He's very well too, fear not.
Still, I read in your eyes.
What baby's pretty one? Thy own face, naught else. I receive that way all this beauty into my heart, and 'tis perhaps come back to look out at the window. Come, I'll wink again. Shall not trouble you. Hence my traitorous thoughts.
Indeed, you are not well.
Indeed, I'm not. All's not well within me. Why should I be such a villain? Eleonora, do not look on me. Turn those eyes away. They would betray thee to thy sorrow. Or let me, by parting, carry along with me that which to know undoes thee.
Are you not hurt?
Yes.
Good heaven defend, I have a sovereign balm.
And exit Eleonora.
Vanish, you ugly shapes, and with her presence quit your sharp stings. Into what monstrous creature feel I myself a growing, yet I cannot force back the stream, it comes so fast upon me. I cannot.
Enter Eleonora.
Here, good Enrico, let me see your wound.
No, I'm well again, thanks, my best love. Come, let us walk and talk. I had a fancy, but 'tis no matter. Bazzano!
Enter Bazzano.
Did you call?
Yes, the balm here.
What shall I do with it?
Lay it up safe. 'Tis good for a green wound, but mine's a black one. Do you hear, sirrah? Draw up the bridge, give entrance unto none.
All my fellows were abroad, sir. There's nobody at home but I.
No matter, let none enter. For my father brought with a whirlwind back, he finds all shut till I have done.
Oh, well, sir, madam, all this is that you should not be afraid. You now see what a kind man he is. He will suffer none to enter but himself.
Exit Bazzano.
If all this proceed out of your care for me, how much am I bound to acknowledge you, sir? Sir, methinks you mind me not.
Yes, I do nothing else but think of thee, and of my father too, Don Pedro.
I hope he's well.
I wish he were returned, my Eleonora, for both our sakes.
The same wish I, sir.
Then for our joys, which now, like flowers nipped with frost, hang down the head as if the stalks could not sustain the tops. They droop too much. At his return, thou art mine.
I am yours now, in holiest contract.
That's the ground we build on. Faith, since already the foundation's laid, let's work upon it. You're mine, you say already? Mine, by all terms of law, and nothing wanting but the possession. Let's not then expect the uncertainty of a return from France, but be all one immediately.
I understand you not.
Since ye are a tree reserved for me, what now should hinder me from climbing? All your apples I know are ripe already. 'Tis not stealth. I shall rob nobody.
You'll not be a devil.
No, I will but play the man with you. Why, you know 'tis nothing.
Will you enforce mine honor? Oh, Enrico, where have you left your goodness? Sure, you cannot be so ignoble. If you think me worthy to be your wife, at least to turn Eleonora into a whore.
Some hungry landlords would have rent before the quarter day. I do no more. By fair means, you have your board. The tenement is mine own, and I must dwell in it.
My fears pointed wrong. You are no enemy, no wolf. It was a villain I disturbed. Oh, make me not find in your presence that destruction my thoughts were so affrighted with.
We shall have such ado now.
Your father's house will prove no castle to me, if you at home do wound me. 'Twas an angel spoke in you lately, not my cheek should be made pale with fear. Lay not a lasting blush on my white name. No hair should perish here, was vowed even now. Oh, let not a black deed, and by my sworn preserver, be my death, my ever-living death. Enrico, call to mind your holy vows. Think on our parents, ourselves, our honest names. Do not kill all with such a murdering peace. You are not long to expect, with the consent of men and angels, that which to take now from me will be loss, a loss of heaven to thee. Oh, do not pawn it for a poor minute's sin.
It be a work, madam, of so short a time. Pray, let me beg a minute's privacy. 'Twill be soon done.
Yes, but the horror of so foul a deed shall never. There's laid up eternity of wrath in hell for lust. Oh, 'tis the devil's exercise. Enrico, you are a man whom I have laid up nearest my heart. In you 'twill be a sin to threaten heaven, and dare that justice throw down thunder at you. Come, I know you do but try my virtue, whether I be proof against another's battery. For these tears...
Nay, then I see you needs will try my strength. My blood's on fire. I boil with expectation to meet the pleasure. But I will.
He forces her in.
Help! Help!
Enter Bassano.
Help? What nightingale was that? Did one cry out for help? There's no Christian soul in the house but they two and myself. And 'twas not mine, I know by the smallness of the voice. 'Twas some woman cried out, and therefore can be none but my young lady. It was she, as sure as I am hungry. He's with her. But why, having one man, did she cry out for more? Oh, our Spanish ovens are not heated with one burvin. Well, I must say nothing. My young cock has been treading. I'll tread softly and see what they do. But see.
Enter Enrico and Eleonora, loose-haired and weeping.
What do you look after?
Why, sir, I look after a voice that appeared to me even now, crying, help! A very small one.
If what thou seest or heardst be unmuttered by thee, though in thy sleep, villain, I'll pistol thee.
It will not be safe to dream of a knave shortly. Are you so good as a gun? If you use this too often, your birding piece will scarce carry a yard level.
Come, dress your hair up and be wise at last. No more, I've done.
So I think in my conscience, he hath done with her.
You can be so simple to proclaim it. I can be impudent.
Yet darest thou live? And do I live to see myself the shame of women? Have I not wept tears enough to drown me? Then let fire enthrone itself within me, and beget prodigious comets, that with flaming hairs may threaten danger to thee.
Nay, if thou be so hot, I'll brave you. Like wine that's burnt, you must be set light by, and then you'll come to a temper.
Exit Enrico.
Oh, help me out of hell!
She has been at barley break. Madam, I must say nothing. There is a pistol and so forth. But if you have occasion to use me, try me. If I do not prove an honester man to you than my master, would my codpiece point were broke. I know what I know, and yet I'll tell no tales. But if I ever come to speak once, I say nothing.
Oh, that I could not breathe. How can I have a joy in life whose honor's in the grave?
And exit. Okay, that's not the problematic material I was expecting. That's quite a scene. It's Yeah, because it's so unexpected, because it so doesn't fit the genre of the rest of the play. That is a very serious scene. It doesn't quite fit Eleonora earlier. It's like she's suddenly increased stature. In a sense, there is something quite well put together in that scene. It just doesn't fit the rest of the play, and it's like I was saying the end of last scene. It's like we're sort of waiting for a plot to happen. This isn't the plot I wanted from this play at all. I say there's something about the nature of that scene getting creepier and nastier that is very well put together. It feels distressingly truthful in terms of the way that's put together, and using the clown again at that moment. It's sort of speaking to the changeling and that kind of darkness. But again, I thought this was going to be a romp.
Yeah,
and it was sort of being a romp, and then it wasn't. Thoughts from the room? Who wants to leap in? David?
I was thinking it could almost be Middleton territory as well. The changeling, or women beware women, because there's a rape scene in that, and it does suddenly jolt, doesn't it, with the tone of what's gone before. The only thing that I noticed that might be unifying them was there's imagery, isn't there, about sieges, battles, giving up the fort, and all that kind of thing. So a kind of rather forced correspondence between the battle and the seizure of the town and the rape scene.
Yes, but if I've not felt that the war had stakes. The war as presented to us is being presented as a on that propaganda level of, oh well, it's the plucky English coming in, taking, etc. It didn't feel like a serious even though there was actually reference to the kind of violences going on. So maybe we're just taking some of the comedy on face value, but it just feels like there was an awful lot of stuff there which was tonally comedic earlier. But you're right, there is a connection there. It's not completely out of the blue. It's just tonally not there. I also wonder if not necessarily in terms of author, but in terms of clown. We don't have an ascribed company for this in the notes I've got. In the sense that Bassano logic fits the same sort of Rowley part that he might be into, and might fit that role quite nicely. It's quite a well structured part, and it's interesting to give the clown this conflict of his conscience of, does he speak out? Will he speak out in the future, or will he be a coward and remain silent? Which is actually quite interesting. Donald?
I was going to say the reference to Barley Break is a direct allusion to the end of the Changeling, isn't it? And yet in the previous scene, basically, poor old Dick has basically taken a bullet up the bum, and he doesn't want anybody to treat him because he seems to be embarrassed by it. So it makes you wonder whether there were maybe two authors going on here, and that they divvied it up between them. Because it's like you say, it's such a shift.
Yeah,
and completely unexpected. I mean, where did that come from?
Yeah. Lois, then Alan.
Yeah, in a sense, it's almost a generic rape scene. I mean, this could be happening, with any man and any woman if somebody decided to put a scene like that in their play. It just happens to be two Spanish characters. It does feel in some ways almost like a spin-off from The Changeling. I mean, if Rowley had been asked to write another play and was full of this one, because all the characters in The Changeling are Spaniards anyway, though one doesn't particularly think of them as that because there's no one else to compare them to, but there are references to wars and so on. And the only thing that really prompts this rape is Enrico's realization that he's alone with this woman, apart from with his fiancée, apart from the presence of the clown, and that if he locks the doors, he can do what he likes. But it's such a kind of arbitrary decision and such an idiotic one, really, in fact, as she points out. It's almost as if, we've got to fit in something here. How about a rape scene?
Yeah, and we are in a sort of part of dramatic history where there seem to be an awful lot of them going on. And there is almost a sense of maybe we put this kind of scene in because it works remarkably. It raises the dramatic temperature, which isn't desperately helpful. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing in the preceding bits with Enrico that telegraphed that this was even a remote possibility.
No, I mean you consider who they were in Act One, and you're going, well, these are twonks. These are just idiots bumbling about. And then suddenly we have this, and they become very different people. So. Well, shall we get back to war? Because that seemed to be a lot more fun. Act 2, Scene 3. Enter Dick Pike with his sword in his hand, a cloak in his arm.
The freshness of this air does well after the saltness of the sea. A pleasant country, too, to look upon. It would serve well to live upon if a man had it, and knew how to place it out of this hot climate. Would I had a matter or a manor, indeed. 1,000 acres of these woodlands, and room to set it in Devonshire. I would compare with any prince between Tavistock and Paradise for an orchard. But I could wish I were not alone here in this conceit, dreaming of golden apples, lest they prove bitter fruit. Whether are our land soldiers straggled, trow? I would fain set eye on some of them. I'll venture a little farther off. Devonshire Dick was never afraid yet. How now, my hearts, upon a retreat so soon?
Enter 3 soldiers.
Aye, to the ships. We have our loads here of the best merchandise we can find in this quarter.
Will you taste a lemon? Excellent good to cool you.
Oh, they are goodly ones. Where got you them?
We're a little above here in an orchard where we left some of our company.
But one may go safe without danger?
As safely as ever you gathered nuts in England. The Spaniards are all fled.
Not so much as the leg of a Spaniard left to squeal at their own apple trees.
Exeunt soldiers.
I'll have a pull at these pommes citrons for my noble captain, and if I had a porter's basket full of them, I would count them no burthen in requital of some part of the love he hath shown me.
And exit Dick. Act 2, Scene 4. Enter 3 other soldiers.
They cannot be far before us, I am sure.
Well, but for the hedge, we might descry them within 2 musket shot.
By God, the enemy be not within 1 musket shot of us behind their hedges. For I'm sure I saw an arquebus whip o'er the way before us, but even now. Ah! Oh!
Oh, yes, they're reacting, of course, to 3 or 4 shots discharged. Soldiers 3 and 4 are slain. Lovely. The other falls on his belly. Enter Dick Pike.
Are you bouncing? I'll no further. Sure, these can be no crow keepers nor bird scarers from the fruit. What rascals were my countrymen to tell me there was no danger? Alas, what's here? 3 of our soldiers slain, dead, shot through the very bowels. So, is this quite dead too? Poor wretches, you have paid for your capon sauce.
Oh! Oh!
I hear some life in that yet. What cheer? How is't, my heart of gold? Speak, man, if thou canst. Look this way. I promise thee 'tis an honest man and a true Englishman that speaks to thee. Thou looks away as if thou didst not trust me. I prithee, speak to me anything. I'll take thy word and thank thee, too. Alas, I fear he's past it. He strives and cannot speak. 'Tis good to shift this ground. They may be charging more hidden villainy while I stand prating here. He breathes still. Come, shall not stay behind for want of legs or shoulders to bear thee. There be surgery in our ships to recover the use of thy tongue. Thou mayest one day acknowledge a man and a Christian in honest Dick of Devonshire. Come along. Nay, now I fear my honesty is betrayed. A horseman proudly mounted makes towards me, and 'tis a Don that thinks himself as brave as St. Jake's. What shall I do? There is no starting. I must stand the encounter. Lie still a while, and pray, if thou canst, while I do my best to save my own and the little breath thou hast left. but I'm in that prevented too. His breath's quite gone already. All the Christian duty I have now left for thee is to close thy eyes with a short prayer. Mayest thou be in heaven. Amen. Now, Don Diego and Don Thunderbolt or Don Devil, I defy thee!
Enter Don John armed. Dick Pike draws and wraps his cloak about his arm.
Oh, Vigliacco, Diabole, Anglese!
They fight.
Pox upon thee, Hispaniola! Nay, if you be no better in the rear than in the van, I shall make no doubt to vanquish, and vanquish you too before we part, my doughty Don Diego.
He hath him down and disarms him.
Mercy, Englishman, oh, spare my life. Pardon-moi, je vous prie.
And take your goods? Is that your meaning, Don? Shall be so. Your horse and weapons I will take, but no pilferage. I am no pocketeer, no diver into slops, yet you may please to empty them yourself, good John, in recompense of the sweet life I give you. You understand me well. This coin may pass in England. What is your donship called, I pray?
Don John, a knight of Spain.
A knight of Spain, and I a squire of Tavistock. Well, Don John, I am a little in haste and am unmannerly constrained to leave your Castilian on foot, while my Devonshire worship shall teach your Spanish jennet an English gallop. Adios, senor!
Enter 12 musketeers.
Oh, what a tide of fortune's spite am I now to swim through! Bear up, jovial heart, and while thou knowest heavenly mercy, do not start. Once more, let me embrace you, senor.
I say he is an Englishman. Let's shoot him.
I say the other is a Spaniard and Don John, and we dare not shoot the one for fear of killing the other.
Oh, hold and spare us both, for we are friends.
But by our leave, we will part your embraces. So, disarm, disarm.
I thank you, countrymen. I hope you'll trust my honour with my arms.
Yes, take them, senor, but you will yield the Englishman our prisoner.
Yes, with a villain's mark.
He wounds him.
A villain's mark, indeed. Wound a disarmed soldier.
He triumphed in the odds he had of me, and he shall know that from the Spanish race, revenge, though ne'er so bloody, is not base. Away with him, a prisoner into the city.
Where you please, though your law is more merciless than seas.
And they exit. Okay. I get interesting questions of tone, because it is playing with tone here. Because I mean, I said in the chat, this is every war film you've ever seen. You know, oh, let's go gathering. Oh, it's okay. There's no snipers here. Bang. He died. So, oh, poor chap. Let me cradle you and any last word. You know, but that could actually be an incredibly affecting scene. That could be, you know, that is about the nature of war, is that unexpected things can happen. This is a point when, you know, basically snipers can exist. You know, it's that concept's relatively new in terms of arms. That unexpected attack from a distance, and that, yeah, these people who've just going, oh, yeah, there's some lovely lemons over there, and they're having that, and then this happens, and then we have a fight, and every actor who's not going to come on for the next scene enters dressed as a musketeer. I don't know if that's just an error and it's actually just 2 musketeers, but I like 12. I like that there are 12.
It's got to be 12, otherwise Dick would never be overcome.
Oh, that's true, because he's an Englishman, and but you know, to be fair, I was slightly surprised that they didn't all fight him one at a time. In a sort of 1980s montage fight scene. But yeah, and then, you know, he gets wounded by John. So again, tonally, this is all over the place, because it could be genuinely horrific, and again, it could just be swashbuckler action, and it sort of is both. We're used to genre sort of being played around a little bit, but certainly, and I'm kind of okay with all of this, apart from the last scene we did, where that just doesn't work. As a sort of daring do thing. It's sort of holding together there. We are very ahead. So I'm very tempted to read on and finish the act, if that is okay. I need to move some people around. So Con, just double checking that you're not in this scene coming up. You're not. Could I ask you to read Musket number 2, please? Because David has to read Bustamante. I think everybody else is okay. I don't think anyone else. Oh, Dick. Does Dick talk to himself?
I will a bit.
Oh, that's fine. I don't think you actually. Yeah, you do a bit. I'll read. Who can read that? Lois, I think you're free. Can you read Teniente?
Teniente, okay.
Everybody know who they are. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. This wasn't planned, but by work, this text moved quickly. So David, you remain Bustamante, but not the other. And Connor, if you're reading Musket number 2. Lovely. Okay, Act 2, Scene 5. Let's finish the act. Enter Don Fernando, the teniente with attendants. Bustamante brought in with a guard.
Francisco Bustamante, late captain of the castle, stand forth accused of treason against his majesty.
It is a language I not understand, and but that by the rule of loyalty unto my king and country, I am made attendant to the law, and in this honoured presence, the governor and teniente, under whose jurisdiction I hold place, I would not bear to hear it.
I'd be glad you could as easily acquit yourself of guilt as stand up in your own defence. But Bustamante, when it doth appear to law and reason, on which law is grounded, your great offence in daring to betray the Spanish honour unto infamy, in yielding up the fort on such slight cause, you can no less than yield yourself most guilty.
Far be it from your thought, my honoured lord, to wrest the hazardous fortune of the war into the bloodier censure of the law. Was it my fault that in the first assault the cannoneers were slain, whereby our strength, our main offensive strength, was quite defeated, and our defensive part so much enfeebled that possibility to subsist was lost, or by resistance to preserve one life? While there was spark of hope, I did maintain the fight with fiery resolution, and give me leave to speak it like a soldier.
To my seeming, your resolution was forwardest to yield than to repel. You had else stood longer out.
We stood the loss of most of our best men, and of our musketeers no less than 50 fell by the adverse shot, whose bodies with their arms were cast by my directions down a well, because their arms should neither arm our foes, nor of our loss the sight give them encouragement.
That policy pleads no excuse. You yet had men enough, had they been soldiers fit for a leader's justification. And do we not know that 60 at least of those base picaros with which you stuffed the fort to feed, not fight, unworthy the name of Spaniards, much less of soldiers, at once ran all away like sheep together, having but o'er the walls descried the approach of the enemy. Some of the fierce-spurred villains were overturned by slaughter in their flight. Others were taken, and are sure to find our laws as sharp as either sword or bullet. For your part, Bustamante, for that you have done heretofore more for your country's love, you shall not doubt of honourable trial, which in the court of war shall be determined at Xeres, whitherward you instantly shall with a guard be sent. See it done. Away.
The best of my desire is to obey.
Exit Bustamante with a guard. Enter Don John Dick Pike with his wounded face and a guard of muskets.
Whence is that soldier?
Of England.
Or of hell.
It was our chance to come on to the rescue of this renowned knight, Don John, who was his prisoner as he now is ours. Some few more of his mates we shot and slew that were, as their English licorishness, bold to rob orchards of forbidden fruit.
It was a fine ambition. They would have thought themselves as famous as their countrymen, that put a girdle round about the world. Could they have said, at their return to England unto their sons, look, boys, this fruit your father with his adventurous hands in Spain did gather.
'Tis a goodly fellow.
Had you not better have gone home without lemons to eat capons with your friends than to stay here without capons to taste lemons with us that call you enemies?
I could better fast with a noble enemy than feast with unworthy friends.
How came he by these wounds?
Not by noble enemies. This on my face, by this proud man, yet not more proud than base. For when my hands were in a manner bound, I having given him life, he gave this wound.
'Twas unadvised.
The more unmanly done. And though, Don John, by law you're not accused, he being a common enemy, yet being a man, you in humanity are not excused.
It was my fury and thirst of revenge.
Reason and manhood had become you better. Your honour's wounded deeper than his flesh. Yet we must quit your person and commit the Englishman to prison.
To prison with him, but let best care be taken for the best surgeons, that his wounds be looked to.
Your care is noble, and I yield best thanks, and 'tis but need, I tell your signories, for I have one hurt more than you have seen, as basely given, and by a baser person. A Fleming, seeing me led a prisoner, cried, "Where did you lead that English dog? Kill him!" cried he. "He's no Christian," and ran me in the body with his halbert, at least 4 inches deep.
Poor man. I pity thee. But to the prison with him.
And let him be carefully looked to.
And they exit. So we have a mixture here of dastardliness and also, good, reasonable terms. It's like, have you considered not being an arsehole, John? Have you considered that? Just treating people like they're human beings. Would you like to do that? He said, no. And yeah, so. Inhumanity, but also humanity in war. Again, it's this sort of like, this little court martial going on here, and so exactly how did we get caught with our pants down? Who's responsible for that?
Sorry?
Don't forget to drop the laptop.
Yeah, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, what I found interesting about that court martial was that the two who are basically acting as accusers and judges were the two at the top of the play were bragging about the fact, well, we've dispersed the garrison because it was costing us too much money.
Mm.
Oh, wait a minute, here's a junior officer, we can have him, make ourselves look good, blame him of cowardice when we failed to provide the resources.
Yeah, it's that's nenever happened before or since.
No, of course not.
It's an utterly unusual state of affairs. So yeah, he's we have a scene for Dick, being terribly, stoic, and other people being a bit dastardly, and other people being, there is some pity there. Fernando pitied him, thought, he's had a tough time. The Flemings weren't very nice.
Yes, I'm puzzled about the Flemings. What do we
yeah.
got them?
Well, there's part of me wondering, because this is vaguely based on events that happened relatively soon prior to this play being written. So I am wondering whether some of this is just random detail from a pamphlet somewhere that they've just crammed in, even though it doesn't really hold any meaningful water. So it might be something like that. I do not know. David,
I think the Flemings acted as mercenaries sometimes in the wars at this time. So, not Spanish, but they'll fight for whoever pays them the most gold, basically.
Mm. Yeah, and he's taken some knocks as Dick. I mean, but he's carrying on. Say, just a flesh wound. Alan.
Yeah, it would go down well at a UKIP or Reform UK conference. They're all bloody foreigners. You can't trust one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it does have that problem, doesn't it? Generally. So yeah, and they're sort of totally all over the shop. So okay, well we're beyond where we intended to be, and we still have plenty of time. It's perhaps too early to say what can you do with this play because it's really difficult to tell what the hell this play is doing. Bits of it I'm really enjoying. Bits of it I think I think that there's a general daring do war play that could be drawn out of this that might go down if it's all terribly over the top and a bit fun. But then obviously we got a subplot there that no. No.
That's gotta go.
or be used in a different context because it's quite a strong scene. It just doesn't fit the rest of the play, and that's and whether we really want to be doing another one of those scenes anyway. Okay, so I'm not going to go around the room for final thoughts from everyone because I suspect we're all sort of there, but do wave if you'd like to throw in something new. If you have a fundamentally different opinion to what I have mostly been saying, but please express it, or a variation thereupon. Greg?
A couple of things. I've enjoyed the sort of not the exposition, the scenes like the merchants more than I've enjoyed the plot scenes so far. I think the merchant scene and others were brilliant, but bore absolutely no resemblance. I'm also loving the fact that this has actually got some decent parts for the unnamed. Just Soldier 1, Soldier 2. So often they just sort of turn up and do nothing, but actually, well, maybe not Soldiers 1 and 2, but the muskets, for example, actually had a decent role in this last bit, and it's nice to have that for a change.
Soldier 5's death I found very affecting. Those I mean, I was moved. Those and then followed by and I think actually genuinely you can workshop that scene and make it work. I think it works. But it's like we don't know who Soldier 5 is.
You're putting in for the Academy Award, I can see. Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think there were a couple moments earlier where Dick was kind of fun to read. But really it was just that scene with the death and where he's the capturing and the counter capturing. That scene was really fun. And so I'm curious to see, and it was fun to read the role. So I'll be curious to see where that goes. Whether there's more of that in the play, because it feels like we're just getting started on Dick's journey. But find out.
Yeah, Dick feels very like he needs to slap his thigh and go ha ha ha. A lot of the time, it's sort of just terribly hearty and panto. Whereas I'd say I'm not quite sure that fits with the rest of the play. I think there are some good scenes. I actually quite liked, in its own weird way, the little merchant scene. I wouldn't pull it in a play. I think it would make an interesting separate episode of the podcast. I think we could do something. We could definitely record that and make that quite interesting as a historical, and we could then dissect it in an interesting way. But for the love of God, no. Why the hell is it there? I mean, why is it scene 2? If you're going to do that do it as a prologue or something, but don't do it there. So weird. Glad you asked that question, David.
Yeah, just it's not been clear up till now why it's Dick of Devonshire to me. You know, he has had quite a lot of the action, but which of the plots is the major plot? The one that's had the most emotional impact has been the scene with Eleonora. So it does feel kind of a bit loose at the joints, I'd say, up to this point.
Well, to be fair, it's not unusual for a play where a semi-comic subplot gets top billing above what's technically the A plot. I mean, I don't know what is the A. I think we're going to land on our Dick fairly heavily from this point onwards, and that's probably going to be where we go. I mean, obviously the merchants are from Devonshire, so I think his story arc is going to obviously come back to the merchants. There's going to be a whole mercantile. That's not going to happen. So yeah, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, you've also got the resonance with Devonshire and Drake. Like he was a Devon man.
So maybe there's a, and of course he might be. I don't know. He might be real. I'm assuming he's semi-real on some level. That again, this is semi-based on some sort of adventures of Dick doing something, or he could be entirely fictitious. I genuinely haven't got a clue. I've done no research whatsoever. David, you're muted at present, but yeah.
The play I read somewhere was based on a pamphlet that had come out about the character Dick of Devonshire, who was reportedly really involved in a naval battle in this location. So whether the pamphlet was telling the truth is another matter entirely, but there's a source for it there, I think. But it does feel as if they've got that bit from a sort of action pamphlet story, and another bit from somebody was writing a Jacobean tragedy, and see, let's put them together and see what happens.
Yes, the source I have listed in Wiggins is 3-1 by Richard Peake. So, so it's Dick's adventures on holiday. To put in print. I'll have a little hunt for that, see if we can find it. It might be interesting. I'm going to wrap up this session unless we have any more to say. We'll see what happens next time we plow into the second almost in the second half. We're not halfway through, but we're slightly further than we normally would be. Maybe I'll have to add in the source material to close the final session, because we might run out of material. Anyway, all that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful readings. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Vanquish and vanquash.